Welcome back to Weekend Today. Well, former police officer Derek Chauvin will spend months in solitary confinement at a maximum security prison in Minnesota after a jury convicted him of the murder of George Floyd.
The verdict sends a strong message, but will it be enough to create change? Martin O'Malley is a former Maryland governor and Baltimore mayor, and he joins us now. Martin, thank you so much for your time this morning. In your time as Mayor of Baltimore, you managed to turn it around from one of the most violent cities in America, and you were able to cut crime there by 43%. How did you do it?
Well, we did two things at the same time. And in fact, recently I went into this in depth with Stan Grant on the Australian podcast Directions. And what you have to do with a tremendous amount of openness and transparency, given public expectations now in this information age, is not only improve policing, but also improve how you police the police. Namely, how you supervise, how you train, how you discipline, and when necessary, how you fire, or in this case, prosecute the police. And there is no sort of halfway to this. Right now, in our country, the fact of the matter is we have no, most of the policing functions are locally controlled things, as indeed is public education. And so it's a bit of a patchwork. Some states are ahead of others. And sadly, in my own state and my own city, after we stopped doing the things to police the police with openness and transparency, we saw a predictable dip in trust. Not that, let's be honest, the trust was ever sky high between police officers and our African-American community. I mean, law enforcement and racial injustice in our country have been intertwined painfully together for as long as we've had a country. So this requires constant work, constant tending, but you have to police the police with openness, transparency, predictability, and firmness.
Okay, so what can America learn from your approach, from this approach right here, right now?
Well, I think what all of us have to learn is how to do a better job of policing our police, training our police, and supervising our police. During my 7 years as mayor of Baltimore, we conducted for the first time 100 integrity stings every year. Undercover police officers calling in bogus complaints on the corner, and then videotaping and watching and testing how officers responded, whether they responded with courtesy, whether they responded with excessive force. And we learned from each of those, especially the ones where we failed. And what the public learned from that was that at least we're trying. At least we are out there. We take civilian review seriously. If you have a complaint, at community meetings all the time, I would read out the number of the phone number for citizens to call civilian review. If they didn't trust calling in on a misbehaving officer to the police department, they could call civilian review, and you have to give them their own detectives. So there are some departments that do this better than others. And what we have the opportunity to do under President Biden is to lift up the examples of those cities that do it well so that they can teach the others and the others can learn from it. There's just no way around being open and transparent when you police and when it comes to policing the police.
You only have to look at the Black Lives Matter protests, though, that we've all seen over the last year to see that, the divide is so big, and among some parts of the community, the trust in the police just isn't there. Do you think it's possible in a country like America for the Chauvin trial to actually create real change?
I do. I believe that we're constantly learning. In other words, self-governance is a longitudinal experiment. And when we see the things that work, we should do more of them. When we see failures, as in the case of this department, we need to learn from those as well. So the truth of it, during my 7 years as mayor, we drove police-involved shootings down to their lowest levels in those 7 years in modern times. And it wasn't by accident. It wasn't by wishing or hoping it so. It was constantly being on the learning curve to improve training, to improve methods to de-escalate incidents. Most police officers really want to do a good job, and they are out there doing a very dangerous job. There's no way around having policing. So if we are going to be a nation where there's liberty and justice for all, we have to improve how we police our police, how we train our police, and how we save lives.
Well, you also took public schooling to #1 for 5 years, so you do know what you're talking about, and we should all be listening to what you say. So thank you for your time. We do appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you both. Thanks a lot.